Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Today is language testing class. Today we are going to talk about test format. I'm going to explain to you different kinds of test formats that you can use for language tests. Okay, let's dive into my PowerPoint slides. So this is our topic today, test format. Now there are two kinds of format. One is objective format. It is called objective because it really focuses on the test items or the scores or the answers as objects. It means that usually in an objective test, the test takers will rely on answer key. And depending on the answer key, the test taker or anybody who is scoring the test just match the test taker's answers with the answer key. If they match, then the items or the scores are correct. If they don't match, then they are wrong. So it's as simple as that. Yeah, so it's called objective because here you just, as a test taker, you just focus on the answers as the objects. Yeah. You do not rely on your subjective opinion. Okay, that's objective format. Yeah. In objective format, you have usually you have a multiple choice. Multiple choice is, I think you are very familiar with multiple choice. The strength of multiple choice is that it allows for a wide coverage of the materials to be tested. Yeah, but it lacks deeper exploration into the knowledge, which means that if you are going to cover a wide scope of the materials of the topics that you have been teaching, then multiple choice is suitable. Yeah, but on the other hand, you cannot go deeper. You cannot measure the deeper knowledge of your students with multiple choice, and that's the limitation. That's the weakness of multiple choice test. Another weakness is that multiple choice is not very easy to construct. It's not very easy to create. Yeah, you have to spend hours to come up with the stem and the distractors, the options. Yeah, and that takes time, that takes effort, that takes an expertise in constructing a multiple choice test. Yeah. And then the second one is a true false. I think this is you are also familiar with this. There is a statement and the test taker has to decide whether that statement is true or false, or whether that sentence is true or false in terms of grammar. Yeah. And then you have a matching. Matching can be your test takers have to match pictures against words, or to match sentences to picture, etc. So this is matching. Yeah. And then you have a transformation. For example, the instruction of a test of in transformation can go something like this: change this active sentence to passive voice, or vice versa. Change this passive voice into active sentence. Yeah, that's transformation. Okay, then you have a test for general language proficiency. This test is usually designed to measure an overall language proficiency. Remember, language proficiency is the ability to use the language, to speak the language, to write the language, to understand the language, either in written or in oral form, or in spoken form. Yeah, that's called language proficiency, general language proficiency. And one test which is aimed to measure general language proficiency is called cloze test. It is a text. The form of a cloze test is a text in which every fifth or seventh word is deleted. And the test takers have to write down the missing words. So for example, it can go something like this: health is something we must strive for. We cannot agree more, and then you have the missing words here. The test takers have to recover, have to write down the missing word here. Yeah. The saying that in another missing word, healthy body lies there is another missing word, yeah, and so on and so on. Yeah, so you have to, if you take a cloze test, you have to rely on your general language proficiency in order to work out a piece of cloze test. If your general language proficiency is good, then you can fill in with the blanks with the right or the correct words. Yeah. For example, we cannot agree more in the saying or on the saying that in a healthy body lies a healthy mind. Thus, regular exercise is good for your health. Yeah, things like that. So that's how a cloze test looks like. And then there's another one. It's called C test. Yeah, C test is actually, this format omits the second half of every third word. Yeah, and the test taker or testee must complete the partially omitted words. Yeah, so it looks something like this. Health is something cheap yet difficult to obtain. Usually the first sentence is presented full, presented as a whole. Yeah. But beginning from the second sentence, there are some missing words. For example, this sounds part, this is only part of the word, and the test taker has to fill in, have to complete this word. Yeah. This sounds part true in a more society, you know, some of the words are missing. Some parts of the words are missing, and the test takers have to write down the remaining of the words, yeah, the other parts of the word. Yeah. So let's see if we can do this together. Yeah. So health is something cheap yet difficult to obtain. This sounds particularly true in a modern society where people usually lead very busy lifestyle. Yeah. Again, if you are good, if your English proficiency is good, then you can usually recover the correct words. Yeah. That's C test. You can consider using this when you want to measure people's English language proficiency. Yeah, it's easy to use. Yeah, and easy to create as well, and easier to score. Yeah. Okay. And then another test for general language proficiency is dictation. You know, dictation, the tester reads aloud the text and the test takers write it down. Yeah. If the test takers are good in English proficiency, then what he or she writes down will be the same as what what the examiner says or reads aloud. Yeah, that's dictation. Okay. Now we come to the subjective format. Subjective format is called subjective because it relies on the subjective judgment of the examiner, the subjective judgment of the rater or the scorer, yeah, the person who scores the test taker's work. Yeah. So here the test taker usually have to supply a longer answer. It's not only picking up an option of a multiple choice, yeah, or picking up true or false, but they have to produce somewhat longer language, somewhat longer stretch of language. Yeah. It comes in a different format, several formats like this. Short answer, for example, validity is, and then the test takers have to complete the sentence here with short sentences. As well as it's called short answer. Yeah. And long answer, of course, is longer than the short answer. For example, explain how protons differ from electrons. And then the test takers have to write down longer sentences, yeah, longer responses. Yeah. Or it can be in the form of essay. The instruction can be something like, write a paper about validity. Yeah, so understandably, the test takers have to produce a paper, yeah, an essay. And then it can be in the form of project. In a project, of course, it's much bigger than the other three, the previous three. Yeah. In project, they have to engage in a certain work, usually longer in time, and usually they do it in group. Yeah. And for example, the instruction can go something like this. Make a reading proficiency test for elementary school students. This is a project. This is, in terms of scale, it is bigger. It requires longer time, longer preparation, longer work, usually group work among the test takers in order to produce a good project. Yeah, but that can also be a form of or a format of a language test. Yeah. Okay, now comes the exercise. You have been teaching a vocabulary to a group of students. So you are a teacher. You have been teaching them vocabulary. Now your task is to decide a suitable test format for testing them. Yeah, so decide which test format you are going to use. Are you going to use multiple choice, or true false, or essay, or short answer, or matching, or what? Yeah, and then explain why you choose that particular format. Okay, that's your exercise. Okay, students, I hope this will be helpful for your language testing course. Goodbye, stay safe and stay healthy. See you again in my next episode.